Welcome to the story of Watsin Chengdan, or sleeping on brushwood and tasting gall. This ancient Chinese idiom is a profound lesson in resilience, patience, and achieving ultimate victory through sheer endurance.
Our story is set during the chaotic spring and autumn period, roughly 2,500 years ago. This was an era when the Zhou dynasty was failing, and feudal lords fought relentlessly for survival and dominance. The main rivals are the state of Wu, a powerful military superpower, and the state of Yue, a smaller, developing state known for its naval warfare and swordsmithing, but militarily weaker. The protagonist is King Goujian of Yue. Initially arrogant, he would become the true embodiment of perseverance, believing that enduring the greatest shame leads to the greatest glory. The antagonist is King Fuchai of Wu, a fierce warrior driven by vengeance for his father's death. His talent was ultimately overshadowed by his hubris, which would prove costly. Seeking revenge, King Fuchai launched a massive invasion of Yue in 494 BC. The Battle of Fujiao was the beginning of a decisive conflict that would determine the fate of both nations. Goujian's army was utterly crushed in the initial war. With only 5,000 men remaining, he retreated to Mount Kuaiji, surrounded by Wu forces and facing the total extinction of his kingdom. Goujian faced a terrible dilemma: die with honor, or submit to Fuchai and endure unspeakable shame in hopes of a future comeback. He chose the harder path: life and surrender. Stripped of their royal robes and dressed in rags, Goujian and his queen were taken to the Wu capital. The king was no longer a king, he was merely a spoil of war. For 3 years, Goujian lived as a servant in a stone hut by the royal stables. He chopped wood, cut grass, and cleaned the stables, enduring the mockery of the Wu court with his head bowed low. Goujian displayed the ultimate depths of humility. He pulled Fuchai's chariot, served as a gatekeeper, and, most shocking, tasted the king's stool to diagnose an illness, convincing Fuchai of his submission. Moved by Goujian's apparent loyalty, and ignoring the warnings of his own advisor, King Fuchai released Goujian back to Yue. The tiger had been let back into the mountain. Upon returning home, Goujian made a solemn vow: "I shall never forget the shame of Wu." To reject comfort and remember his humiliation, Goujian initiated Wixin, or sleeping on brushwood. He refused soft beds and slept on sharp firewood, the pain constantly reminding him of his suffering in Wu. He also practiced Changdan, or tasting gall. Before every meal and sleep, he would lick a suspended pig's gallbladder. The shocking bitterness forced him to ask, "Goujian, have you forgotten the shame of Kuaiji?" Goujian began rebuilding his nation's economy. He personally worked in the fields, and his queen wove cloth, inspiring his people to work harder, rapidly boosting Yue's agriculture. He implemented a pro-birth policy, rewarding families with new children, and the state took responsibility for orphans. This ensured every child survived to become a future soldier or worker. Goujian adopted the 10-year strategy: 10 years to gather resources and 10 years to train his people. This was a long-term plan focused on consistent, patient preparation. As part of his strategy, Goujian sent the legendary beauty Xixi to King Fuchai. Enchanted, Fuchai neglected state affairs and killed his advisor, essentially softening Wu's resolve. Goujian also used economic sabotage, tricking Wu into planting boiled seeds that failed to grow. He encouraged Fuchai's extravagance, draining Wu's treasury with resource-intensive palace building. Wu Zixu, Fuchai's greatest general, saw the plot, but Fuchai, blinded by arrogance, forced him to commit suicide. Wu Zixu's last wish was to watch the Yue army destroy Wu from the city gate. While Wu weakened, Yue trained in secret. Goujian forged a new army of elite swordsmen and archers, symbolized by the famous and timeless Sword of Goujian. In 482 BC, King Fuchai took his elite troops north, leaving his capital undefended. Goujian, having waited roughly 20 years, knew this was his moment. The Yu army swarmed the undefended Wu capital. Without their main army, Wu collapsed. They captured the heir apparent and burned Fuchai's palaces. Fuchai returned, besieged, and pleaded for the same mercy he once showed. But Goujian, knowing the price of that mercy, refused. Fuchai covered his face and committed suicide. Goujian annexed Wu and became the last of the 5 hegemons of the spring and autumn period. His resilience led Yue to rule the East. The story of Watsin Chengdan remains a classic narrative of delayed gratification and calculated vengeance. The key lesson is that while it is easy to be disciplined for one day, true victory comes from being disciplined for 10 years. Goujian's superpower was consistency. What discomfort, or brushwood, are you willing to endure for your dreams? What reminder or gall do you need to keep you focused when you want to give up? Endure, persist, triumph. Thank you for watching this video.